What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be installing a 30-inch LED light bar on my 2019 Toyota Tacoma. I was lucky enough to be able to partner up with the guys and girls out at ExtremeLED, a LED light bar manufacturer, owned, operated, designed, tested all out of the Denver, Colorado area, which for some of you who have been watching the channel for a while, huge fan of Colorado, got family out there, so anything to support a business in the local area. Not to mention that I've seen their products on quite a few other builds that I follow and am quite a big fan of. So I trust in their quality, and I'm super excited to get it installed on the truck today. So let's roll some of that B-roll before we get into the video. So before I get too deep into this here, the first thing I wanted to bring up is that we will be installing this light bar in the lower section of the front grille, and I'll probably do a before and after here in a sec. But I got these brackets, it's kind of the first part of the install, from Cali Raised LED, and they kind of make a system so that it's going to fit right in the lower section of the grille. I think they said that this fits a 32 and 30-inch light bar. There'll be a little bit of a play in the bar, so we'll have to see how far we get. So let's pop the hood here in a sec and kind of get these installed before we drop the light bar in. All right, so this is all gonna go right down in this section here. I do know we'll have to replace or remove this bolt to move the intercooler or the radiator support. And let's see if I can get in there. There should be some more bolts right. Ooh, where's my finger? Right there. That we'll have to remove. So let's get to that. Our first thing I got to remove is the grill, and from there we'll be able to access everything a little bit more easily. So before I get a little ahead of myself, so to get the front grille off, you're gonna have to remove 2 screws here, and then I'm in the process of removing these little tabs right here, and they just come off super easily. There's one on the other side, and then we'll just be able to yank it off. Before you yank, I forgot to mention that if you have the TSS safety sense sensor, you're going to want to disconnect that. So there's a little tab here. Let's see if I can't. I've undone this a few hundred times early on when I first got the truck, but I have not done it in quite some time. All right, so we just managed to get the grill off. It wasn't too hard. If I come over to the front here, you'll see that it's much easier to access some of these bolts. So at the beginning, I mentioned I'm taking out this bolt and one of these. I'll let you know in a sec, so we can move this radiator support back, and then we'll have access to get the bar in down below. But I think the next thing we're going to be doing here is getting rid of these wind screens, which are just held on by some of these little guys that we'll be able to take off with a flathead. So I just managed to get these deflectors out. So there's really just 2 of those clips there, and then you just kind of yank it out the other way. On my truck, you can see here, now that they're gone, I have kind of a big old gap here where you can see basically everything. I know the light bar is going to fit in a lot more stuff there, but yeah, we'll have to see. I might modify it a little bit so I can get them to be back in there with those mounts I showed you. So let's get those in next. So it is a little tricky. I tried to use an extension here this radiator support, those fins are super sharp, and the radiator itself is a little sharp. So I just loosened it barely enough for me to do this by hand. If you had some sort of better extension, it might be a little easier, but this is what I'm working with. So we're just gonna undo this side and then jump to the other side. I managed to get this side loose. Oh man, I've been doing the wrong one. All right, correction again. I was not doing the wrong bolt, but for a second I thought I was. So they're definitely tighter than I thought they were gonna be. I couldn't even get there with a, I've been having to kind of squeeze through there. I couldn't get there through an extension. So I'm just kind of doing it the slow, methodical way. And then when I think I have enough play here, I can probably get it out by hand. By the end of this, I'll for sure be bleeding somewhere. I always cut myself on something. I literally called it like 2 seconds ago, so I'm gonna cut myself on something. So here we go. So with both of those out of the way, we're gonna be able to push this, I keep calling it radiator support, but this is actually the power steering cooler. See if I can't move it back a little bit there. That'll give us more room to play with the light bar here in a sec once we get the other parts installed. So the next thing we're gonna wanna do, I already took it off on this side, but next to the crash bar here, and I like that I have so much light here because that's cut out over there, but you're gonna wanna remove this. This is a 14mm, previous one was a 12. I'm using deep sockets for both. If you come over here, you can see, I realized I needed to show you guys mid work, so I'm just gonna get this out. So the next thing I did here, you can't really tell, but I actually placed the light bar face down, face down right here, and I fed it through the back side. And I already have the harness for the light bar over here facing this way, because that's gonna feed all the way up here and battery and then through the firewall. All right, so it's kind of hard to tell here because it's all black, but I've already kind of mounted this mount here, and I've hand tightened this 14mm bolt here. I've done the same on this side, making sure, you can see it right there, the wire for the harness rather for the light bar is out of the way. So what I'm going to do is use the here we go, supplied hardware to mount this here, and then what we're going to do is kind of finger tight everything, and I think the next step will be attaching the light bar before we kind of tighten everything down. All right, before we go any further, I'm going to grab these two guys. You probably remember them from the beginning, and I'm going to reattach the power steering cooler because we have the bar sitting right there. These brackets are kind of already in place, and I want to make sure that that is attached before I go tightening anything permanently there, because we want as much space as possible. This next part is going to be probably the part people have the most trouble with, but we're going to attach the light bar to the bracket itself. Because I have my fender liner chopped out here, I have a little bit more access, but if you don't have that, you're gonna have to go through the front of the vehicle, and it's gonna be a little bit more tricky. But let's get to it, and then we'll check out and see what it looks like. Now, I haven't even secured it all the way, but check out what that's gonna look like. ExtremeLED light bar. Looks like it's a spot flood combo. We'll get into all that later, but it's coming together. All right, that took way too long, but I managed to get this tight, got that tight. Power steering cooler is back in. I got the light bar mounted on both sides. I did have to kind of adjust the height a little bit so that both, I don't even know if I did it well enough over here, so that both sides were kind of flush with one another, but looks really good so far. Happy with how it's turning out. Next thing we're gonna do is get the grill back on, and then we're gonna use the supplied Extreme LED wiring harness to get this all wired up. So what I've gone ahead and done is laid the switch end. It's gonna go through the firewall on this side, kind of put the positive and negative and relay terminals here on the outside. And then I fed the other wire down, and it's right here because I have no fender liners, and we're gonna attach these two, and that'll be our first connection for the light bar. So I've gone ahead and put the grill back on. As you can see, the Extreme single series LED light bar looks super good under there. I just gotta reconnect the Raptor lights, and then I'm already in the progress of kind of tucking this hilarious amount of wires away. I am gonna be doing a follow-up video to this, connecting this light bar and all my other lights to the aux beam controller, but for the time being, we're fighting daylight and weather out here in California, so I'm gonna tuck this away somewhere quick, attach the terminals here, positive and negative, and then use the switch there that I received from ExtremeLED to test the light. All right, we are in business. Got everything wired up. I honestly think I made my life harder for when I do this light switch, switch panel here in the next week. But at any rate, got all situated there. Most of the wires I was able to hide behind that, so that when you're looking under here, with the exception of this, I gotta zip tie this back. Everything looks pretty clean. But yeah, can't wait to show you guys what this looks like here in a little bit when we get out in the evening, but it is bright. All right, as I mentioned, we're kind of fighting daylight here, but bar's all hooked up, wiring's all hooked up. All that's left to do now is feed this through the firewall grommet. Most people use a clothes hanger. I don't have clothes hangers like that, so I'm gonna have to use a screwdriver, and we'll see how we do once it gets on the inside. So I actually got pretty close to first try here. See if you can see that it's not too overexposed. I got the drill in, or the screwdriver in. I might just need to snip off that little piece of rubber that's separating the actual switch from it, but I did get very lucky. I did not go further with that screwdriver. Last thing I'm going to do is kind of pull this tight on the inside, connect it to the other side of the switch, and on the inside I just want to see if we get power in here. Looks like we do. Turn that off. I am going to temporarily try to wire this into my old ditch light switch. As some of you know, I have a dual function KC Flex Air 1 ditch lights, so that's been moved to there. But in the interim, I really am not a huge fan of these little switches, so we'll see if I can't just switch it into there real quick. So in anticipation for this switch panel I'm going to be installing, that I had a review on the channel not too long ago, I removed the pigtail / wires for this. So I'm actually going to take this out and replace it with the blank so I don't confuse myself again. But for the meantime, I'm just going to zip tie this somewhere a little as clean as possible for the next week or so. There we have it, you guys. That was the 30-inch Extreme LED light bar install on my Tacoma. As you saw, it's kind of like the more covert version. We use those two brackets to kind of lower it down into that lower grill section. I know some people mount them within the grill, which is really cool. But as far as like ease of installation, I give this like a 3 or a 4. It just takes a little bit of time, so you got to be patient and make sure to go through the process in the correct order. I enjoyed installing the light bar a lot more than I did getting the wire actually through the cab. I have it temporarily mounted somewhere in here, but as mentioned, I will be wiring all my lights to a aux beam panel here very soon. So I do want to give a extra special thanks to ExtremeLED. They sent me this light bar out to actually review, but I'm mentioning this at the end because I've been wanting to work with and partner up with ExtremeLED for quite some time. Love the way their products look, love the output of their products, light pattern wise. This one's a spot flood combo, so I think that I'm already planning to mount another, probably like a 42-inch up on the roof rack. And then at some point here in the near future, I'll probably end up purchasing a smaller front grill light bar for whenever we end up getting a bumper. So if you're interested in the ExtremeLED light bars, I'll drop a discount coupon code down in the description below. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Try to get subscribed, hit that subscribe button. You know all the rest. Drop a comment down below. Notification squad, give it a like. And until next time, enjoy the ride.